Previously on Higurashi When They Cry console arcs.
皆さんが取材を受けることがあるかもしれませんが、曖昧なことやいい加減なことは言わないように。いいですね。
In unison, everyone replied, Yes, ma'am! Her words were jovial, but I understood what she was trying to say. After all, this was the 5th year. Reporters from talk shows and third-rate magazines are probably looking for a story, asking what the curse of the 5th year might be. As far as the villagers are concerned, I guess it's a major pain that only promotes a bad impression of the village. So they're not going to give them what they want. This time, I'll be on the side of the villagers. And in that case, I'll have to do my part. Adjusting myself to fit into the village atmosphere is an important step in deepening my ties at the village.
どうしたの、みーちゃん。
Reina must have noticed something for her to ask that. Now that she mentioned it, something does look odd about Mion. It's like she has no energy.
いや、なんでもないよ。
Mion responded as such, but her expression made it clear she wasn't feeling all right. But the next moment...
なんじゃー！
Unsurprisingly, since Mion was out, the 4 of us managed to collect an enormous number of points in her absence. Mion must have realized the moment she saw the score sheet. No matter how hard she tries, it'll be impossible for her to turn her point deficit around.
とほほー。今日は代わりに買い物行ってもらう予定だったのに。
どうしたミオン？
It was bugging me. So I decided to ask more directly.
何が？
いや、元気がないみたいだから。
別に。
Mion simply muttered that. Then we returned to walking in silence. And then...
あのさ。
何？
I opened my mouth again to ask about the subject that had been bothering me all day.
部活の時間に呼び出されただろ？あれ、誰が来たんだ？
ああ、ちょっとね。
ちょっと、何？
Once she came back, she seemed completely drained. Reina noticed it too, and even asked Mion about it.
シオンに、もう、近づかないで。
The weight of those words crushed me. In a flash, the distance between our faces shrank, and Mion's sharp eyes were clearly visible. It felt like I was trapped by an ominous shroud of darkness. I couldn't move.
シオンにはもう近づいちゃダメだから。
I nodded to her, terrified. But I couldn't say anything. Admittedly, I never stopped being interested in the story. Not since the night of the festival, when I spoke with Shion alongside the riverside, and she told me about the victims so far. But there's nothing admirable about asking someone about a topic they'd rather not discuss. But even so, I focused on the last thing Mion said. She seemed especially upset that I heard about the curse from Shion. What on earth did she mean by that?
おいたが過ぎるね、シオンも。あんまり嗅ぎ回るようなら仕方ないね。
What prank was she referring to? What was Shion poking around in?
二度と同じこと言わない。だからよく聞いて。
A chill ran through me. My blood froze over as she stared into me.
引き返してもいけないってことか？
してほしくない。詮索もしないでほしい。
ちょっと待てよミオ。詮索されたくないって どういう意味だよ。
ここで聞いたことを調べたり、他の誰かに確かめたり、絶対にするなってこと。
I wanted to speak up, but I held back. After all, responding to questions seemed simple enough. But I got the feeling that there would be details to call attention to during the story. Surely some questions will arise during the hour or so she's going to spend telling me this story. At any rate, even if I'm not allowed to question people about it, there are probably written materials recorded somewhere that I could research. Plus, I get the feeling I need to learn about this in order to properly become a part of this village.
これからする話、お社様のたたりの話なんだよな。つまり、綿流しの後、何かが起きた。今年も何かが起きて、誰かが。
Mion carefully looked into my eyes and slowly began to speak.
あのね、富武さんが綿流しのお祭りの晩、どうやら死んだらしい。
Here we go again.
間違いなく死んだって。バッチャから聞いてさ。
My mind went blank. What? Huh? What happened to Tomataki-san? Then we paddled our bikes toward Hinamizawa together. Reina continued laughing, making fun of me along the way. At any rate, I somehow managed to succeed in keeping my secret. But no matter how loud Reina was talking and laughing, I could still hear the word curse ringing inside my head. The entire time I spent riding my bike home, I was filled with regret. I wish Mion had never told me that story. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. I'm expecting more failure on my end to keep my nose clean of this town's affairs. A lot more failure. How much failure in just this one episode? Well, that remains to be seen, but with the way things are going, I would not be surprised at all if I see something truly scary before this episode is all done and over with. But one way to find out, I suppose. So let's get right to it, shall we? The classroom felt quiet all morning. Was that really the case? Or did the day just feel that way, since Mion wasn't here today? I wasn't really sure. Mion always has a strong presence. There's no doubt about that. But regardless, she's absent today. Apparently she caught a particularly stubborn cold. Club activities are usually suspended anytime Mion is out. However, since she'd been out for a few days, we eventually started club activities up again. Everyone loves our club activities. Everyone was thinking the same thing, that we wanted to hear Mion making a ruckus again, as soon as possible. With Mion out, my chances at victory should have been much higher. But I've been losing a lot recently. I just couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about Mion. And I extended beyond just club activities too. That feeling has plagued me throughout my daily life for the past few days. And today was a particularly low point. For better or worse, the stories I've heard left me far too exhausted to endure a penalty. Today's punishment game will have to be postponed until next time. That's what allowed me to escape a penalty today. Lucky you. Once again, Reina and I had to head home alone. Even though Mion couldn't come, the Higurashi were still crying out like usual. No matter who's gone, the Higurashi will continue to cry out, no matter what happens the day before. Right? Isn't that the case?
たのケイチくん。
My rival isn't around, and it's sucking the motivation out of me.
遠い目になってるよ。
Refer to the previous answer.
何？
レナが聞いてるんだよ。なんか考え事かな。
いや、別に。
You're a bad liar, as always.
次の罰ゲームが怖いのかな。
そんなとこかな。
Reina was bringing up unusually random topics. The conversation felt like Reina wasn't acting like herself. Maybe she was starting to get suspicious of me? I think she's just concerned about you, if anything. Or maybe there was just no space left in my head to process Reina's small talk.
そういえば最近、ケイチくん部活負けっぱなしだね。
なんか、調子出なくてさ。
じゃあ、ようか？
なんて言った？
だからね、ケイチくんが調子出るように、お漬物でも差し入れようかって。前に美味しいって言ってくれたから。
Well, since I don't eat pickles myself, I have no idea how much they affect one's mental acuity. But I'll take your word for it that they just might help this poor bastard.
サンキュー。
Mion. Or rather, that story I heard from Mion has been stuck inside my head ever since I first heard it.
ケイチくんってば。
Reina was still talking to me. She'll probably be disappointed in me if I ignore her. But I just couldn't bring myself to focus on that.
そういえばさ、富武さんの話、何か聞いた？
No, have you? Tomitaki. Tomitaki-san. Tomitaki-san!
どうして？
Why would you ask that?
レナのところにね、来たの。警察の人が。
He's already dead, I assume. Tomitaki-san's story. Why would the police be asking Reina about that?
レナ、そいつはどんな話を？
The moment I said that, my voice was drowned out by the sound of a car horn. Better not be the mountain dogs. Nope, it's not. Thank God. A black car stopped right beside Reina and I. The car's imposing presence had me feeling on edge. Alarm bells were going off inside my head. A middle-aged man emerged from the car.
すみません。
Hello, Ushi. It's been a while.
はい。
前原圭一さんですか？
そうですけど。
Who is this old guy? I've never met him before. But despite that, he already knew my name. The atmosphere clearly felt abnormal. When I studied his features, he looked like a slightly pudgy but not quite overweight middle-aged man. He seemed the kind of person that could flex every muscle in his body in a crisis. His body seemed appropriate for an elderly judo master. At least that's the impression I got. I think that's the most flattering thing I've ever heard you think about this man. His voice sounded soft, but there was nothing sweet or carefree in his gaze. He was the type whose occupation was difficult to guess. No, I felt like there were a lot of occupations that would match his type.
ちょっと話があるんですけど、よろしいですか？
What's the best way to answer a sudden question like that? Just then, I felt a tug on my sleeve. It was Reina.
今日はね、一緒にお買い物なの。はう。
Already went through already went for your groceries, I assume. Reina's comment was so abrupt, it took me a moment to figure out what she was getting at. And yes, I know she's running distraction, shut up. But after Reina whispered that, I understood completely.
この人だよ。
When Reina said this is him, it was obvious that she was referring to someone in particular. This must be the detective that visited Reina. And Reina was doing her best to get me away from him. Would it be better to stick with Reina and decline this man's request?
こりゃとんだ邪魔者みたいですね。
You do have a talent for that, to be fair.
そうなっちゃいますね。
いやいや申し訳ないです。なるべく早くに済ませますからね。
You have no idea how much I miss that laugh of yours.
ああ。でも何のご用ですか？
You ask him what he's doing here when just a second ago he just told you that he wanted to have a chat with you. Are you suffering from short-term memory loss, Keiichi?
私は沖宮署の大石と申します。
ああ、大石さんですか？
お話の内容についてはお隣の竜宮レナさんから伺ってませんか？
特に何も。なあ、レナ。
何も話してません。誰にも話すなって言われましたから。
それはいい心がけです。こちらとしては助かります。で、その同じ話を前原さんにもさせてもらえないかとお願いできませんかね。
今じゃないとダメなんですか？
お買い物だよね。ね。
Reina continued to pressure him. But despite his soft appearance, this Detective Ushi was still reluctant to give a yes or no answer.
竜宮さん、お気持ちはわかりますがね。今日のところは前原さんをお借りできませんか？ねえ前原さん。お願いしますよ。
Well, he did say please. It seemed impossible to get away from this guy, so I gave Reina a subtle wink. Reina looked a bit uneasy, but she lightly nodded in response.
わかりました。お話を伺います。レナ、悪い。先に帰ってくれ。
うん、わかった。また明日ね。ね。
助かります。お邪魔しちゃってすみません。これも仕事なんでね。
My business is his business. Once Reina started heading home, I entered Ushi-san's car. It was nice and cool inside the car. In fact, it was rather cold. This must be a luxury car to have an air conditioner like that. Or maybe it's just my dad's car that doesn't have AC.
冷えすぎだったら言ってくださいよ。私、ガンガンに冷やしちゃうたちですから。
ああ。
Well, if you really want to experience pure coldness in your body, you could just commit self-die. The conversation was progressing at Ushi-san's pace. I was a little annoyed, but I couldn't think of anything I could do to fight it.
すみませんね、急な話で。
It felt like this detective was able to read everything inside my heart. At this point, I was having trouble figuring out what kind of person he was. However, I got the general impression it would be best not to make an enemy of him. Ushi-san swiftly pulled a notebook out of his breast pocket and began flipping through it, then pulled out a photo sandwiched between the pages. It looked like a driver's license photo or something, and I could see the expressionless face of a man. Then, I began to tremble, because I recognized that face.
この男性のことでご存知のことがあったら教えてください。竜宮レナさんはじめ前原さんもお知り合いのはずですよね。
これ 富武さん。
Why would this detective come all the way to ask me about Tomitaki-san? What was he trying to accomplish?
ちなみに彼、祭りの夜から失踪しています。
Like clockwork.
最後に会った時のことを聞かせてもらえませんかね。
祭りの夜に会ったのが最後ですけど。
それきり会ってないんですね。
ええ。
そうですか。
Ushi-san scribbled something in his notebook as he listened. I wonder what he's writing down. Are those investigation notes?
それで前原さん、あなたはこの男性が失踪するような理由、何か心当たりありますか？
He spontaneously wanted to take a vacation to Hawaii.
いえ、全くありません。
人から恨まれていたとか、男女関係で揉め事を起こしていたとか。
Well, in regards to the rocky romantic relationship, I guess you could say his relationship with our favorite nurse lady is certainly a little uneven, a little rocky.
些細なことで構いませんよ。何かこの人について教えてくださいよ。粘着質な性格で女性からは相当嫌われていたっていうような話も耳にしてるんですがね。
Well, he was popular with at least one.
もしかしたらストーカーまがいのことをして逆恨みでもされてたかな。
Tomitaki's many things, but he does not give the impression of a stalker. At least to me.
富武さんはそんな人じゃないです。
Ushi-san was speaking far too brazenly of the deceased. He could only take false accusations so far. It felt like he was disrespecting a dead man, and I wanted to stand up for him. However, I quickly regretted getting so fired up over nothing.
いえ、すみません。つい。でも本当に富武さんはみんなの人気者でした。殺されるような理由なんて全く思い当たらない。
Right then, Ushi raised an eyebrow. At that moment, I realized the error in what I had just said.
おや？
You might have just implicated yourself a little bit.
彼が殺されたことをどうして知っているんですか？
I cursed myself, but it was far too late.
私は失踪したと言いました。でもあなたは今、はっきりと殺されたと言った。
My regret at slipping up must have been written all over my face. Ushi-san's face twisted into a grin. Ushi-san seemed to have discerned something from my momentary reaction.
確かに富武さんは亡くなっています。でもこの件は、警察内の秘匿事項のはずなんですがね。誰からその話を聞きましたか？
I struggled to find the words to respond. There's no way I can tell him I heard it from Mion. The police were already starting to suspect Mion, so if I dropped her name here, the consequences could be disastrous. While I sat in silence, Ushi-san spoke up to move things along.
園崎美音さんのことをご存知ですか？
Hearing Mion's name so suddenly got my blood pumping.
そりゃクラスメートなんで。
I kept my answer ambiguous. I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. I was completely overwhelmed by the desire to run away.
そういう意味じゃありませんよ。
I did my best to avoid getting upset or distracted in my answers, but Ushi-san kept staring into my heart with those sharp eyes. Despite the laughter in his voice, I could see no happiness in Ushi-san's eyes.
じゃあどういう意味で？
Why am I hearing... Like, is that wind I hear? Or is that some kind of weird instrument that I'm just unfamiliar with?
素顔 とでも言いますか。園崎美音が本当はどういう人物なのかという意味です。
I was momentarily stunned by the temperature difference as I stepped out of Ushi-san's car. Ushi-san told me about a Mion completely different from the Mion I knew. It started during the dam conflict. Got a little bit of a grammar error here. Mion was taken into police custody several times for engaging in anti-dam protest activities. It was among the village's earliest acts of rebellion against the dam, and Mion was a leading official in the orchestration of resistance activities. The resistance activities were organized by the Sonozaki family. I heard that gangsters and organized crime groups were involved. Even more surprisingly, she has essentially become the leader of the Sonozaki family. How far did the Sonozaki family's reach extend? Just listening to it had me shivering. Mion is the acting leader of the Sonozaki family. Mion is the ruler of this village. She wishes. That was the same Mion who warned me about the dangers of the Sonozaki family. But Mion herself sat at the top of the family. So, why? Why tell me that story at the library? Maybe she was trying to give me a warning? By personally revealing the dark side of the Sonozaki family to me? Was that her way of telling me I could be eliminated if I started talking about these things? So I need to stay quiet? Mion Sonozaki. I thought of her as a nice older friend who was good at being a leader. But in fact... Just then, a chill ran down my spine. I wasn't sure if it was because of the air conditioning or something completely different. For now, I should just head home. I was in the mood to just crawl into bed. So I walked home at a brisk pace. All kinds of thoughts were spinning through my head as I made my way home. First and foremost, I wanted to feel a vague sense of security. Once my house, came into view, I finally started to feel safe. Then, right as I was on the verge of putting my hand on the door, I heard a voice from behind. Reina?
Keiichi-kun?
Called it.
Ah!
It was Reina calling out to me.
レナなんで俺んちの前に
Well, I mean, who else would it be, honestly? Reina didn't respond to my question. She just kept staring at me.
ずいぶん遅かったんだね。
Ushi is a very talkative man once he gets going, don't you know? She was supposed to head home right when I got into Ushi-san's car. But if Reina never went home, was she waiting for me in front of my house this whole time?
そうだよ。圭一くんの帰りをずっとここで待ってたの。
It's been a long time since I got into Ushi-san's car. That's not normal. It's like she wasn't just waiting for me, but setting up an ambush? That's not what this is. And for such a long time. Reina's behavior is a bit abnormal, isn't it?
そうなんだ。それは悪かったな。あの刑事、なかなか返してくれなくてさ。
そうなんだ。ひどいね。
Reina was looking more and more upset. But I couldn't tell if her discomfort was stemming from Ushi-san or from me. I felt Ushi,
ていうかさ、何の用なんだ？ずいぶん待っただろ、こんなとこで。
圭一くんのこと、心配だったから待ってたんだよ。
The tone of Reina's voice was too hard, too cold, and too strong. It was frightening. Did I say something to offend her? Am I overthinking it? Reina seemed upset when I left her earlier. Was it just an extension of that? Somehow, I got the impression Reina was unusually oversensitive. It might be best to avoid provoking her here. I looked downward as I pondered that, and then I noticed. Come to think of it, what did Reina even have to be worried about? Wushi-san is a detective, so he'd never do anything unsafe with me. Then, why was Reina so worried about me? If she's worried about me spending time with a detective, then it's not my safety she's worried about. So then what on earth was Reina so worried about that she'd set up such an awkward ambush? It's not an ambush.
ありがとう。でも、別に心配ないからさ。
何を聞かれたの？
Reina looked at me directly in the eyes with a sharp gaze. It was a strong signal, with the implication that escape was impossible. I beg to differ. Just let me walk through the front door. Was Reina trying to figure out what I had told the detective? Why? It was startling. I couldn't possibly tell the police the things I shouldn't even know about the Sonozaki family. No way. Impossible. Thoughts I'd rather not think about kept swirling around inside my head. Why would Reina be so concerned about the Sonozaki family? Well, she is friends with Mion. It's really not that hard to guess. The answer was obvious. Reina was working with Mion. If Mion asked Reina to keep an eye on me, then everything added up. A shiver started crawling up my back. I didn't say anything. Nothing that would make me an enemy of the Sonozaki family. I don't know anything unsavory in the first place. That's right. I didn't hear anything from Mion, so I don't know anything. So I'll be alright. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Then I took a deep breath and responded to Reina in the lightest tone I could muster.
あ、レナに聞いた話だったよ。
富武さんの？
そう。他は別に何も。
本当に？圭一くん、顔が青いけど、大丈夫かな？
Well, you boring holes into my eyes with those blue eyes of yours. That would probably make a lot of people's face turn blue, to be fair. Reina sharpened her gaze and looked straight into my eyes, and you're doing it even worse. Reina doubted me. You are a pretty doubtful guy, to be fair. But I really didn't know anything, so there was no need to get upset. Calm down. Everything is fine.
そうかな。大丈夫だって。他には本当に何も聞かれなかった。
みーちゃんのことも？
Mion. Why? Why would Reina suddenly drop Mion's name? Why would she bring Mion up right here, right now? Reina must be working with Mion after all. All that accomplished was making me even more worried. That's alright. Even if Reina and Mion are in cahoots, I really didn't tell that detective anything.
ミオン？別に何も聞かれなかったぜ。
そう？それ、本当かな？私の時は、みーちゃんの話をされたよ。
Reina gave me a suspicious glare as she said that. Her eyes seemed to pierce right through me. I hesitated for a moment to decide if I should tell her the truth. No, if I change my story now, it'll only make me look even more suspicious. I have no choice but to keep it going. If she knows you're lying, and you know that she knows that you're lying, don't dig yourself any deeper, man. Seriously, you're not doing yourself any favors by doing that, especially with Reina.
女同士だからじゃないか？
そうかな。本当にそうかな。なんでだろうね。でも当然レナは何も話さなかったけどね。
そうだよな。
I had no idea what she thought was so natural about that. But at any rate, I gave her a vague answer just to keep things moving.
それに私、裏切り者じゃないしね。
You calling me a traitor? How dare you?
レナが裏切り者なんて思ったこともないぞ。
そうだよね。それに、みーちゃんを怒らせたら怖いからね。
Reina's laughter didn't sound cheerful at all. If anything, it sounded like ridicule, mocking me for being a coward. Was that a threat? Was Reina trying to force me to keep quiet? I didn't talk. I haven't said anything, because I don't know anything. I have no connection to any of this. I was overwhelmed with the desire to refute Reina's assertions. But it felt so unnatural for me to come out and say something. It wasn't just Mion. Reina was trying to intimidate me too. I should be extra careful to avoid doing anything unnecessary, right? Am I planning to be on guard at all times from now on? I don't want to think about what comes next. It's alright, as long as I can just get my fun everyday life back. I didn't want to think about anything else. I'm sorry I got so caught up in these strange things. Anyway, I should hurry up and go inside. It's time for Reina to head home.
じゃあもう遅いからそろそろ帰ろうぜ。
逃げる気？
Yes. Reina's cold voice cut into me in a flash.
なんでそうなるんだよ。
そう。じゃ、さよなら。
Well, that was generous of her. She let me go without putting up much of a fight. After saying that in a terribly brusque voice, she quickly turned and started walking away. It felt like I was being abandoned. I was left dumbfounded. I wanted to say something to Reina, but I couldn't think of anything. It took all my strength just to watch Reina walk off from behind. Reina drifted further away, but after a few steps, she suddenly came to a halt, and promptly turned back to me, with a frightening look in her eyes, full of doubt.
ケイイチくん、大丈夫だよね。
The strength of her tone had me at a loss for words. Reina's eyes were piercing straight into my heart. What would happen if I betrayed their trust? That's what Reina's eyes were telling me.
ああ、大丈夫。
Then Reina turned her back once again and started heading home. After watching Reina completely disappear into the distance, I rushed into my house to escape. That was tense. The chirping birds made me feel at ease. It was a refreshing morning. It had been a while since I last woke up feeling this way. But the story Ushi-san told me about Mion quickly filled my head. It was so unexpected. So unbelievable. A side of Mion I didn't know. No, Mion's true face. The side of her from the past, when she organized radical activity on behalf of the damn opposition movement. The dark, powerful face of the true leader of the Sonozaki family. And I'm just picturing in my head the image of a girl having a good old jolly time, just making life utterly miserable for a bunch of construction workers. Terribly frightening image, that. But beyond all that, Mion was my friend. I wanted to keep thinking that. I wonder if Mion feels the same way about me. She does, dummy. That she was my friend from school. But that could very well just be her face on the surface. Maintaining her position as the head of the Sonozaki family should be her top priority. When I thought about it that way, nothing seemed out of place. On the contrary, it seemed only natural. The everyday act of going to school was starting to weigh heavily on me. Mion wasn't waiting at our usual meeting place, so Reina and I headed to school together. I started feeling anxious about Mion's absence. But at the same time, something inside me felt a little relieved. And I felt disgusted with myself for it. I might be letting the darkness inside me influence my attitude. By darkness, you mean rampant paranoia, right? Reina seemed to pick up on my demeanor and opted not to say anything. So, Reina and I walked nearly the whole way to school in silence. Hey Satoko, can you dump a bucket on my head and help this poor bastard feel better about things? My senses fogged over as soon as I arrived at school. Alright. Satoko's traps! I welcomed the change of pace, so I threw the classroom door open without hesitation. But I found no trap awaiting me. God damn it, Satoko! You had one job! One job! Now I'm gonna have to be stuck with this depressed little shit heel. I'm sorry, Keiichi, you're not a shit heel. You're just special. I should be glad that I made it through unscathed, but I felt a little disappointed. I exchanged greetings with everyone, then made my way to my seat. Wait a minute. Maybe the trap is at his desk. The ongoing conversations between my friends annoyed me somehow. Apparently not. Once again, Satoko, you had one job. Even though these were my friends. I put my head down and pretended to sleep. That way, I can get through this until the teacher arrives. I had a major lack of energy today. On a day like today, I'd be forgiven even if I really did fall asleep. But just then...
Minna, ohayo!
There you are! It was Mion, arriving at the school a bit late. I guess her cold healed up. Though I was relieved to see her in good health, the story Ushi-san told me yesterday immediately came back to me. Did she even have a cold at all? I continued pretending to sleep when Mion came over, in an effort to avoid talking to her this morning. On the other hand, if I don't talk to her now, it'll be that much harder to talk to her later. I was bothered by the contradiction between those two ideals. As a result, I did my best to keep sleeping until the teacher arrived.
ケイチ、先生が来ましたのです。
As soon as I heard Rika-chan's voice, I quickly raised my head and tried to hide the thoughts running through my head. Then I thanked Rika-chan for the assist.
ああ、リカちゃんありがとう。今日は眠いな。
But just as I was about to smile back at Rika-chan, I tensed up when I looked into her eyes. The glint in her eyes seemed to say, I know everything. Compared to you, she definitely does.
ミオ。おはよ
なんか顔暗いけど大丈夫？
別に、なんでもないけど。
No, it's not nothing. The truth is, Mion, I suspect that you are the head of a village with a really dark secret, and if I speak one syllable out of turn, you will gut me like a fish.
So?
After that brief greeting, Mion returned to her seat. I felt a little relieved. I wasn't confident in my ability to speak to Mion right now. No, it was clear from the moment I thought that I lacked the ability to talk to Mion that something was wrong with me. Mion isn't a bad person. That's right, now focus on that thought. If someone was targeting me, they'd let me know by now. Which meant I wasn't being targeted. Because nobody said anything to me. The chances of that seemed reasonably high. In fact, thinking about it from a purely rational standpoint, that line of thinking seemed most appropriate. Am I just overwhelmed with paranoia thanks to that weird guy? Yes. I can't let things stay like this. I absolutely need to do something. But even so, Mion is. Alright, how about Rika-chan? I've heard before, Rika-chan is the head of the Furuti family, one of the three families of Hinamizawa. Given her age, she may just be a figurehead in her position. If only you knew. Still, she's close enough in age to Mion that they might be privy to the same level of information. Thanks to all of Mion's supporters in the Sonozaki family, if anything unsettling was afoot in the village, I wouldn't be surprised if it reached her ears too. That ought to be the case. But despite that, Rika-chan was still on friendly terms with me. However, I remembered the look in Rika-chan's eyes earlier, gazing at me as if she knew everything. The elder villagers believed Rika-chan possesses some mysterious power. What if Rika-chan had another side to her too? Then grave danger was rapidly approaching. Still, I have a few options available on how to approach this. I should check with Rika-chan to find out if I'm safer now or not. But how do you know the Sonozaki family isn't acting on their own, Keiichi, in keeping the Miss Fruit, head of the Fruit family, out of the loop? I called out to Rika-chan during break time. The two of us went to a place where nobody would see us. It was perfect. Rika-chan kept watching me with a curious look on her face. Seeing that look on her face made me feel a little more relaxed. This was the usual Rika-chan.
何のご用なのですか、ケイチ。
Salvation!
リカちゃん。あのさ。
はいなのです。もしかして、突然の恋の告白なのですか？
いや、そうじゃなくて。
残念なのです。では、何の用ですか？
I was thrown through a loop by Rika-chan's banter, so she lightly tilted her head to the side as she asked that.
俺ってさ、誰かに狙われてないか？
狙われる？圭一がですか？
なんか、いくつか噂を聞いたりしてさ、そんなことないかななんて。村では俺のこと、よそ者って思ってる人もいるだろうし。
Rika-chan looked surprised and upset for a moment, but her expression quickly calmed down.
圭一は何か悪いことをしたのですか？
Actually, no, I haven't, but everybody seems to think so anyway.
してないって。悪いことなんて誓って何もしてない。
それなら大丈夫なのです。
Rika-chan responded in a nonchalant tone. Was she angry? Or was she exasperated? I felt the latter, given her time-looping problems.
そうか。
何もしていないのであれば、普通に考えても何かをされる心配はないのです。
うん。だったらいいんだけど。
しつこいのです、圭一。
I know. I keep chastising him for it. Rika-chan clearly wanted to bring our conversation to a close. Am I just being a hassle? Or was it a mistake to discuss this with Rika-chan? If it was the latter, it meant I just made a dangerous move. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do?
圭一、聞いていますか？
Barely.
ああ、聞いてるよ。うん。
It seems like she was calling out to me for a while. They say that Rika-chan possesses some mysterious divine power. If that's true, maybe she can even read my thoughts. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do?
もう一度、村の寄り合いで、圭一の名前が挙がったことはありませんのです。
Is that so?
だから、不安がる必要はゼロなのです。これでいいですか？
ありがとう。おかげで気が楽になった。
Rika Fruity told me I was safe, as the head of the Fruity family, and a member of the three families. If that's true, I should definitely be safe. However, something about Rika-chan still seemed unusual. Her words seemed sharper than usual, and more cold. Then Rika-chan seized the opportunity and spoke up in a terribly sullen voice.
そもそも圭一は、何をそんなに怖がっているのですか？変に不安がっているから、余計に犬さんを怒らせてしまうのですよ。ワン、ワンワン。
That sounded like the usual Rika-chan. But right now, I could still hear the danger lurking underneath those words.
こんな圭一は、あまり見ていたくないのです。だから、さよならなのですよ。
I see you're still distressed, my dear friend, so you just handle it yourself. I'm going away now. Bye! What an awfully concerned friend you are. In the end, I couldn't say anything. Once again, I came to realize my actions hadn't solved anything. There was even a chance that my missteps had made matters worse. I've been running away. I've been running from Mion. Speaking of Mion won't necessarily solve my problems. In the worst case scenario, it could put me in even more danger. But it can't be helped. I need to talk to Mion directly. School had just let out. Mion needed to get to her part-time job, so she left the classroom on her own. I was a bit nervous, thinking about approaching her one-on-one. but given what we needed to discuss, it seemed ideal. So, I chased after Mion.
ミオン、あのさ、
ケイちゃんどうしたの？
Mion responded exactly like usual. She turned back, and our eyes met. I realized it had been a long time since we faced one another like this. I wonder if Mion feels the same way.
いや、一緒に帰ろうと思ってさ。
へえ、ケイちゃんから声かけられるの久しぶりだよね。
そうかな。
The chorus of Higurashi rang out as we walked down the usual path side by side for the first time in ages. However, Mion looked different from usual. Her expression looked a bit stiff, but I wondered if it was all in my head. Even though I was able to catch Mion, what should I say? What can I ask? Indecision ran wild inside my head. More precisely, I lacked the ability to reach a decision. The path of Mion was quickly reaching the splitting point. I needed to hurry up and say something. But all that impatience amounted to nothing. Mion confidently came over and poked me.
で、何なの？
何なのって何が？
話があるからわざわざ追いかけてきた。違う？
There was no rebuke or venom in her voice, but I could feel the determination behind it. As if she were telling me it had better be good. At this point, I had no choice but to be completely frank.
ああ、さすがだな。
で、何？
なんで、綿流しの連続殺人事件のこと、ずっと隠してたんだ？
I carefully studied Mion's expression. How would she react to that?
不安がらせたくなかったからね。ケイちゃん、ひなみ沢に来て間がなかったし。
I couldn't see anything suspicious in her explanation.
じゃあなんで、祭りが終わったら話したんだ？
なんか黙ってると余計不安になるかなって思ってさ。
This explanation, too. Once again, there was nothing suspicious.
結局話しても話さなくてもいいことにはならなかったな。
Mion tried to force a smile as she muttered that. Was it all in my head? Mion and I are having a completely ordinary conversation right now. And there's absolutely nothing suspicious about the answers she's giving me. I started thinking so. But the next moment, Mion stopped walking and slowly turned to me. Her eyes were intensely staring straight at me. Don't give him those eyes, you're gonna make him spooked.
で、
ミオン。
で、どうする？このまま黙ってるか、それとも
って。
Who is this person? The gaze emitted from those eyes was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The person in front of me right now can't be Mion. It's another person. Maybe it's Shion. Those were the keen eyes of a predator, sapping the freedom of all who gaze upon them. With a horrifying glow emanating from within. I felt like I had no options to choose from. I finally gained the strength to utter a few words. No, I was forced to say them.
仲間だろ？俺たち。
仲間ね。
Mion's dry laughter paralyzed me. I got the impression she was saying those words had no meaning. Or more specifically, like she was telling me that friendship didn't matter. If I got in the way, I was simply an enemy.
まあいいや。それじゃ、今度こそこの話はこれっきりだよ。
Yes, ma'am. Mion turned the corner like usual and went on toward her house. Then she said bye-bye as if nothing had happened at all. For a while I stood there unable to move. I couldn't understand Mion. Was Mion a threat or not? I'm honestly beginning to wonder if it actually was Mion we were just walking with. Could be Shion for all we know. She did appear at the beginning of this chapter, after all, and that is the one major deviance from the original chapter 1 that I can think of, was Shion being present at all. So that tells me that if anything nefarious is gonna happen in this thing, besides the big bad plan that the Mountain Dogs have cooked up, it's probably gonna involve Shion somehow. At least that's my guess. I stood completely still, as the chorus of the Higurashi echoed through my ears. This particular segment is going on long. It's been a while since we've seen a cutoff point. The rain outside was coming down even harder. Alongside the intense rain, thunder was crackling more and more frequently. It felt like the sort of night where something would happen. You may just jinx yourself, my friend. And naturally, that something would be nothing good. Rather, something ominous. Again, as good as me at stating the obvious. I was feeling mildly restless, and I couldn't calm myself down. I wanted to get to sleep as soon as possible. So I turned the lights out early and crawled into my futon. The darkness distracted me from my idle thoughts. But those negative emotions were still lurking deep within my subconscious. If I can set those thoughts aside, everything will become clear. The fear and anxiety I tried to ignore laid me bare and attacked me from time to time. The curse of Orishiro-sama. Or rather, the series of deaths in Hinamizawa. The Sonozaki family. And their acting head, Mion Sonozaki. No. She's our good-natured club president. And a friend. Those pieces of the puzzles unconsciously came to mind. Nevertheless, I still couldn't get a grasp on the situation. What on earth is happening? Have I already gotten myself involved? And if so, is there anything I can do to escape? Or maybe it's all just in my head? No, too many bizarre events have already come to light. It's impossible to simply explain them as products of my own biased imagination. And the most important thing, of course, is Mion. Why do I have to be afraid of Mion? Mion is supposed to be my precious friend. At the same time, I can't help but see the tremendous darkness behind the Sonozaki family. And the truth is, I'm afraid there has to be some relationship between the Sonozaki family and the series of death in Hinamizawa. You think you forgot an S there. Mion personally explained the danger of the Sonozaki family to me and warned me not to speak out. The friends I made since I moved to Hinamizawa are precious to me. I want to trust them wholeheartedly. That's right. I want to believe in Mion. My eyes gradually grew accustomed to the darkness. Oh, there's those haunting eyes again. The ceiling was faintly visible. The waning darkness slowly mingled with the imaginary from my imagination. And over time, it became hard to tell if the images before my eyes were real or not. I could see two sharp elliptical shapes. I immediately buried my face in my futon. But hiding in my futon did nothing to comfort me. What was that just now? That was, well, I think we'll just wait and see if the owner of those eyes will make their intentions known later on. If my theory about Mion being Shion earlier has any water to it. I saw on Mion's eyes, or some pair of eyes resembling Mion's, shining on the ceiling. The glint in her eyes from this afternoon that paralyzed me. That wasn't Mion. Those predatory eyes had to belong to someone else. What the hell did I see just now? An illusion born from my own fear? I'm starting to wonder if you're beginning to develop Hinamizawa syndrome symptoms. Coming. I also loved how for every single knock there was the sound of two knocks. I heard a sound. So, I listened carefully to identify its source. I rolled out of my futon and quickly surveyed my surroundings. I was alone in the room, but I braced myself anyway. Both my fists were trembling non-stop. Then the next moment, I heard a tap on the door. There, that's the appropriate number of knocks right there.
Keiichi? 電話よ、電話。
I vote Reina as the caller.
なんだよ。はい、今出るよ。
Then again, it could be Wushi. Once I answered, Mom opened the door. All the strength in my body released at once.
もうずっと読んでたのに。本屋さんから電話よ。
A bookstore?
え、本屋？
そう、なんか急ぎの用らしいわよ。待たせてるんだから急いで。
A bookstore? I don't remember giving them my number. Though I felt a bit uneasy, I decided to head downstairs for the time being and pick up the phone.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。
Looks like my second guess was right on the mark.
私、沖宮書房の大石と申します。
I recognized that voice.
大石さん？大石さんって、刑事の大石さんじゃないですか。
すみませんね。お母さんが出られたので、本屋さんということにしておきました。
Why lie about that exactly?
警察ですって名乗ると、いろいろご心配なされるでしょうから。
Oh. Wushi-san seemed to be taking extra precautions. So, I switched to the cordless receiver and ran back upstairs to my room.
夜分遅くにすみませんね。
いえ。で、何かあったんですか？
いえね、先ほど分かったことなんですが、実は、園崎紫音が行方不明らしいんです。
Yeah, I'm really starting to think Shion is up to no good right now. And we were walking home with her earlier. Not good.
シオンが？
I squeezed the receiver in a panic.
シオンが行方不明ですって？
そうなんですよ。それも数日前から。
She apparently hasn't been seen for several days. More precisely, since the night I met Mion at the library.
前原さん、何かご存知ありませんか？
Was there a chance that Mion had Shion eliminated? The truth is actually in the reverse, so to speak. I nearly uttered something in my panic, but I quickly covered my mouth with my hand. I recalled the hawkish look in Mion's eyes from earlier. I could never tell anyone what Mion told me.
何も聞いてませんけど。
本当に聞いてないんですか？
Wushi-san's low voice echoed through the receiver, like he was threatening me.
はい。本当です。
園崎紫音がいなくなった日、前原さんと一緒にいるところを見たって情報があるんですがね。
知りません。ミオンと違ってシオンとは学校も違うし、そんなに会う機会もないんです。人違いなんじゃないですか？
そうですかね。
Ushi-san's obstinate voice crawled through my ears. Do Ushi-san suspect me? I don't know anything. Really, I don't. As I thought that, I started to regret carelessly mentioning Mion by name. I didn't want Ushi-san to hear anything about Mion, no matter how trivial. I didn't want to give Mion or Reina any reason to doubt me.
前原さん、本当のことだけ答えてくれませんか？
本当ですよ。俺は何も知らないんです。俺は無関係ですよ。
まあまあ落ち着いて前原さん。私は別にあなたを疑って聞いたわけじゃありませんから。
はい。
Wushi-san spoke softly to try to calm me down. If this was his idea of a bad joke, then stop it already. Hurry up and end this phone call.
そんなに動揺されては逆に疑ってくれと言われているような気がしてしまいますよ。
すいません。
いやいや、あなたが謝ることではありません。前原さんが本当に何も知らないのか、それを知りたいだけです。
ですから何も知らないんです。
I don't know anything. And yet, Ushi-san seems to be doubting me. I can't tell Ushi-san anything Mion told me, no matter what. I desperately tried to sort out the thoughts running through my head.
大丈夫ですか？前原さん。
はい。とにかく何も知らないんです。
Then Ushi-san spoke softly.
それとね、実は姉のミオンも行方がわからないんですよ。
Yeah, this is definitely Shion that we're dealing with. Huh?
ミオンもですか？
After Shion, Mion disappeared too?
それにこういうの前にもありましてね。
Oh, you're definitely right about that.
前にも二人が行方不明になったんですか？
はい、そうなんです。あれは去年のことでした。
Last year? That recently?
王女のおばが殺された時も、あの二人が突然姿を消しました。
そんな。
Ushi-san was speaking of the curse on the day of Watanagashi.
おまけにその時は、せっかく掴んだ容疑者が仏に会ってたものですから。
Two people disappeared, and the suspect died. Ushi-san seemed to suspect that the two of them were involved in the incident.
まあ、だからどうという話ではないんですがね。
This year, Toмотaki-san died, and two people went missing.
何かわかりましたら教えてくださいね。
Ushi-san suddenly began speaking in a clerical tone.
はい。
こちらも進展がありましたらご連絡しますよ。前原さんも些細なことでもいいので必ずご連絡くださいよ。ねえ、前原さん。
Ushi-san was implicitly telling me to contact right away if I noticed any movement from the Sonozaki family. But if I do that, I'll be the next one getting killed. I wanted to hang up the phone right away and escape from Ushi-san's voice.
わかってます。ちゃんとわかってますから。
ちゃんと頼みましたよ。それでは失礼します。
As soon as I hung up, the sound of the torrential rain filled my ears. I heard a crash of thunder mixed in with the rainfall. It was particularly loud. But the noise was gradually muffled by the monotonous sounds surrounding it. And then, I was completely enveloped in silence. My nerves grew more and more tense, anticipating the movement when the silence would be broken once again. With the sound of rain and thunder. But if I were to hear any other sound... No, I shouldn't hear anything like that. A sound like that would shatter my safety. You're gonna jinx yourself again. As I continued thinking about the inevitable sound that would break the silence, my nerves nearly gave out. I buried my head in my futon. When I did, the darkness made my imagination run wild. A vague image of Mion's hawkish eyes appeared before me. This time, I'm positive it's my imagination. Still, I was desperately fighting back the shock and fear. I was on the verge of screaming any moment now.
で、どうする？このまま黙ってるか、それとも。
Suddenly, Mion's words came back to me. As real as if they were whispered in my ear. My entire body was racked with tension, and all my strength escaped me. When Mion said, "Or," what did she have in mind for me? You don't want to know. Someone might kill me on Mion's order. If they got me in this room, I probably wouldn't stand a chance. Perhaps someone would just open the door and break in without making a sound. Or maybe someone would just smash the window and break in. Or maybe there's already someone inside the room. Yeah, I really am starting to think Hinamizawa syndrome is starting to kick in for him. I crawled out of my bedding and frantically looked around. There was nobody in the room. This wasn't the first time Mion and Shion disappeared. The same thing happened last year, when the Hojo family's aunt died. On top of that, the prime suspect disappeared with impeccable timing. Well, what's going to happen this time? Someone dies, and someone disappears. How many people are going to disappear from Hinamizawa this year? The heavy rain and thunder carried on as usual. There was no sign of the approaching morning. Will I be able to safely make it through the night? Really, I wonder if tomorrow morning will ever come. Will it? It will, you big baby. Still, this is concerning to say the least. since it's really looking to me like Shion has snapped again and is probably torturing Mion and what's his name from the third family. I've forgotten his poor name. I'm sorry. As we speak. I woke up once again. No, it was probably for the best I stayed up. Continuing to sleep will only put me in more danger. Yeah, that you're not doing yourself any favors, making yourself sleep deprived. You're only gonna make your symptoms worse. Tomorrow morning is going to be tough, but I can't compromise my safety. If someone were to break in, even if I was awake when an intruder broke in, I'm not sure I could do much about it on my own. Still, it's better than sleeping completely defenseless. At any rate, I just wanted a moment to relax. If I keep this up until morning, the tension is going to drive me mad. That was not a pat-pat sound. No, it must be my imagination. Wait a minute, is that Hanyu I'm hearing? I was disgusted with myself for thinking that so many times tonight. That is not a pat-pat! That is a drip! It sounded like it was getting closer and closer. It felt more real than my earlier hallucinations. Was it still just my imagination? Okay, fine. Assign whatever sounds to whatever sound effects you like. I don't give a shit. After one last pat, I noticed the sound stop right in front of my room. That's no hallucination.
Keiichi?
No comment.
起きなさい。朝よ。
It was Mom. Morning had already arrived. Actually, I do have a comment. Mommy dearest, why are your footsteps sounding so wet right now? In the end, I could barely get any sleep. Just thinking about the sleepiness I'll be fighting all day had me feeling depressed. Get some caffeine in you. Make some green tea. But at the same time, I felt relieved that I safely made it to the morning. I dragged my body down the stairs. A completely ordinary scene was spread out before me. A completely ordinary breakfast on a completely ordinary dining table.
眠そうね、ケイイチ。昨日は何時に寝たの？
Bad question.
昨日は寝つきが悪くてさ。
そう、珍しいじゃないの。
気がついたら朝だった。
あんたもしかして、昨日の雷が怖くて寝られなかったんじゃないの？
まさか、子供じゃあるまいし。
Mom gave me an awkward look, like she had seen right through me. It wasn't fear of thunder that denied me my sleep. However, it was indeed fear that kept me awake, so she was right in that regard. I was bombarded with sounds I shouldn't be able to hear, or other meaningless noises. Any small sound off in the distance would leave me terrified. It was a long, long night. I focused all my attention on the morning sun and the chirping birds. And then, I was finally able to see how cowardly I was acting. It was a calm, wholesome morning, completely devoid of any sort of trouble. My fear of the Sonozaki family. My fear of Mion. The dark side of the Sonozaki family that I had heard about. It was unmistakably Mion Sonozaki who told me all about it. Personally, Was it a warning, or was it intimidation? I took it both ways. However, nothing has happened since then. My everyday life is going on like usual. So is there really any reason for me to be afraid of Neon? As of this morning, there's been no change in my everyday life. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Good morning, Reina.
おはよう、レナ。
あれケイチくん目が真っ赤だよ。どうしたんだろう。
なんか、寝つきが悪くてさ。そんなわけで、今日は寝不足だ。
大丈夫かな
No, not really. Reina moved closer to look my face over. I was startled for a moment. If I moved in this close to Reina, she'd start blushing immediately. So, I quickly looked away before my complexion could start changing.
なあ、レナ。ミオン、遅いな。
まだ調子悪いのかな
For the moment, I simply tilted my head to the side. According to Ushi-san, Mion had disappeared. In that case, there was no way Mion could come here.
先に行ってもいい約束の時間になってるけど。どうする
Reina said that with an innocent look on her face. So, Reina didn't know anything about Mion's disappearance? Or was she deliberately pretending not to know? Reina turned to me and encouraged me to think it over.
ケイチくん、どうするもう行かないと遅刻になっちゃうかも。
そうだな。ミオン、まだ体調が悪いのかもしれないしな。
If there's nothing we can do about it, there's no point dwelling on it. Ultimately, I made my decision. Yeah, thinking about it now, that story that we heard earlier about her being out for a while because of cold, that's probably when it happened. When Shion came into the picture and made the twin switch. She was off doing her own nefarious little thing. Ultimately, it was my decision. That's right. Wasn't I the one who so passionately desired to enjoy my wonderful everyday life? Yeah, you did, but it seems like this particular universe is hell-bent on not giving that to you. So, if I were you, I would just be a man and face the music. I never wanted to get involved in any of these incidents. And Mion was probably just staying home because she's not feeling well, right? If I simply never got out of bed to answer my phone, would Ushi-san start saying that I disappeared too? If there's nothing I can do about it, there's no point dwelling on it.
レナ、そろそろ行こうか。
Rain and I started walking side by side. As I walked to school with Reina, all the sights along the way looked just the same as always. I felt like a person recovering from an illness walking outside for the first time in a while. I found myself struggling to recognize the nature all around me. After carefully running my eyes across my surroundings, I came to realize that nothing had changed at all. Maybe I'd been overthinking everything up until now. My shoulders and cheeks began to relax, and my usual confidence slowly came back to me.
ケイチ君、今変なことを考えてなかった？
なんでだよ。そんなこと考えてねえぞ。
ああ、ケイチ君照れてる。怪しいの、怪しいの。
照れてないって。怪しくもない。
だって最近、ケイチ君ずっと怖い顔してたのに、さっきニコニコしてたよ。
Yeah, I would probably start assuming something similar if I were in Reina's position in this particular instance. Sheesh, of all things for Reina to say. But in all due seriousness, she's probably trying to snap you out of it. Still, was I really making those scary faces that Reina mentioned? It might be true. I haven't felt this calm in a long time. And there was no reason for her to say something unusual. It's been a while since she's teased me, hasn't it?
そうか。バレてたか。
そうでしょ？じゃあ、やっぱり変なこと？
別に変じゃ。レナを見て、ちょっとにやけてたのさ。
なんでかな？なんでレナを見てにやけてたのかな？
Oh, look what you've done. You got her all flustered. Reina's cheeks were already starting to turn red.
最近、ちょっと疲れていてさ。毎日会ってるのに、レナの顔をまともに見る余裕もなかった。
I could tell Reina's heart rate was steadily climbing.
で、久しぶりにレナの顔をじっくり見たらさ、やっぱり、可愛いなと思って。
ケイチくん。
You're being unusually flirty today, aren't you? Reina was blushing so hard she was about to faint. Mission accomplished. Come to think of it, it has been a long time since I properly teased Reina. What? That was taking it a bit too far, don't you think? By the time we arrived at school, everything was still the same as usual. In fact, considering how things were recently, it seemed even more lighthearted than usual. So I yanked open the classroom door like always. Trap! And just then, I heard a snap off in the distance. A moment later... What did you do? Just jump a waterfall on me? My upper body was completely soaked with some liquid. Normally, I'd be on high guard before entering the classroom. But of course, I realized I was far more relaxed than usual. And the reason I described it as liquid instead of water? The smell. The stench!
Satoga!
What did you dump on me?
ゲイツさんがそんな簡単に引っかかるなんて思ってなかったのでございますわ。どうせカースならばちょっとしたジョークで。
これのどこがジョークの範囲だ。
デッドストックの牛乳なんてデンジャラスなトラップ。
Oh God, Satoko, why?
本気で設置するわけがございませんでしょうが。
全身そのデッドストックの牛乳まみれだ。
Satoko, if there was a part of you that if you seriously did not want to, if you want me to really believe that yeah, there's some part of you that clearly wanted to use that on him just in case he'd be stupid enough to fall for it. Like, come on, be honest. Still though, spoiled milk? That's just cruel. And a waste of good milk too.
そんなの知りませんわ。
You really should have!
気を抜いていたケイチさんが悪いのでございますわ。
After my harsh words, Satoko sensed the impending danger. She quickly tried to put some distance between us. But I won't let her escape. Pat, 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 tap, tap, tap. Pat, 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 tap, tap, tap. Pat, 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 tap. I'm getting tongue twisted now. Yank! How naive, Satoko. What the hell are you doing?
ケイチさんがデコピンした
Considering that you dumped what I assumed were literal gallons of spoiled milk on his head, I think you're getting off pretty easy here.
水じゃなくて熟成された牛乳を使った分でかっこ強だ。たくほんとくせえ。
While Reina was stunned by the old milk, she was on high alert for a secondary disaster. Even Rika-chan decided to keep her distance. Smart girl.
圭一、かわいそうです。でも、近づきたくないのです。早くジャージに着替えるのですよ。ねえ。
It sounded like, going by the sheer volume that was dumped on me, that I need to change a lot more than just a shirt. I dashed off in the direction of the bathroom. She deserved more than a forehead poke for this suffering. For once, I agree. Sadako! I'll have my revenge in the next club activity. Ugh. For the moment, I escaped into the privacy of the bathroom. Fortunately, there was nobody else inside. I can't imagine what kind of rumors might start flying around if someone saw me scampering into a private room covered in milk. I could think of a couple. I pulled my shirt off, then used it to wipe my face and my upper body. When I pulled off my pants, I noticed that this milk seeped all the way down into my underwear. You poor bastard. Damn you, Sadako! I had no choice but to pull off my underwear too, so I could wipe the milk off all of my clothes. You better pray that someone of the opposite sex doesn't come walking in on you. Even so, the smell, it was completely rotten. That's rotten milk. That's spoiled milk for you. It doesn't smell good. And no matter how much I scrubbed my hair, the smell remained. Damn you, Sadako! I brought a gym shirt with me, so I was able to wear that. At a time like this, there's no point arguing the details. I confirmed that no other students were around, then rinsed off my head in the washroom. Class was already getting started, but I couldn't stop dealing with the milk situation. It was spoiled milk after all. Damn you, Sadako! You really are not having a good time, I can tell. I wouldn't either. I slipped back into the private room and started daydreaming while scrubbing my hair dry. In my dream, Sadako was completely incapable of moving around. Of course, my body was still able to move freely. And in my hands, I held a pot full of long since expired milk, emanating an intense stench. I had absolute authority in the matter. How would Satoko react in that situation? Like usual, she'd probably use all her strength to make the best of the situation. Satoko wouldn't break her rebellious posture for even an instant. I had a graceful smile on my face as I moved the pot closer to Satoko's head. And then, I'll show no mercy as I bathe her in it! In my daydream, I got my revenge on Satoko. Well, that was a very anticlimactic dream you had, and I'm not gonna lie. Your relief will be short-lived, Satoko. My hair was finally drying up, so it was probably about time to head back. Hey, Shion, are you in here? As I entered the classroom, the lesson was already more than halfway done. If I tell Chi-sensei I wasn't feeling well, she'll probably forgive the offense. The fact that I spent such a long time in the bathroom lended some credibility to the argument. I took a quick glance toward Mion's seat, but she still wasn't here. Reina explained to me after class, Mion had apparently contacted Chi-sensei to call in sick. Reina seems genuinely concerned about Mion's health. So, Reina clearly believed a story about her absence. May have just been overthinking everything these days, after all. At today's club activity, I earned my first major victory in a long time. Of course, my strategy from start to finish was to take down Satoko. Payback for the spoiled milk. And thanks to that strong motivation, I came out victorious today. I completely denied the others an opportunity to follow up. I had so much fun. And I laughed from the bottom of my heart. Spending time with my wonderful friends. Isn't this great? No. To me, this is the most important thing of all. Let's cherish our time together. Let's cherish every day we get to spend together as friends. It just keeps going. There's no tips in sight. You know what? I think I'll just go ahead and end things here for now, since I have a feeling that things are going to continue on for a good while yet. Still, now that I have a very strong suspicion that Shion is up to no good and has thoroughly lost her mind yet again, I would not be surprised in the slightest if within the next episode or two I am forced to break my promise of not sticking my nose into the affairs of Hinamizawa in the most tragic manner possible, by force through someone else's hand. And how lucky would I be if that certain someone was a crazed Shion, of all things. Things are not looking good for me. At all. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If you did, and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.